Hey everyone, Ethan here with another video for you guys today. Today is actually just going to be an overview of the Corsair Carbide 100R case. I'll actually have a full review of this coming pretty soon, most likely. It's actually for a client build I'm doing. So depending on how soon they actually plan to start using it, depends on whether or not I'll be able to do a review of it. I'm gonna have it assembled within the next few days from the time of filming, and hopefully have time to film a review after building in it. But this is just gonna be a general overview for now. This is the silent edition of the Carbide 100R. So instead of having a window or a standard side panel, it actually has some sound dampening foam in there on the top and both sides. And that's supposed to help reduce noise, which in my experience with silent cases, such as what you see back there, the Bit Phoenix Ghost, the noise dampening foam actually does work really well. So hopefully it works as well on this one. But anyway, let's jump straight into it. All right, so looking at the front of the case, you actually have two 5 1/4 inch bays, which isn't uncommon on more budget-oriented cases like this. It's nice to have a couple of those, but that's, you know, they're starting to get phased out. You got two USB 3.0 ports. I do like to see that on a case this cheap. It's becoming more common as well, but it's still a good thing. There are still some case manufacturers that are using USB 2.0, and honestly, it's slow, old. I don't know why they just need to move to 3.0. All of them do. You got your microphone, headphone jack right there, power reset button. Kind of standard front look. You got the Corsair logo down here at the bottom, but overall, it's nothing incredibly special. It's just a matte black case. It is not a fingerprint magnet though, so that's nice. And the front panel here is plastic, as you would expect. Not having it be a fingerprint magnet is really nice. So anyway, moving on to the side here, you get pretty much a whole lot of nothing, although you do have these beveled out sections here. That's actually where the sound dampening foam goes. So it's nice to have those bulged out so that you're not really taking up space in the case for those. You've also got a side vent here for your front intake fans, because as you could see, there was no intake on the actual front of the case. That should help keep things a little bit quieter, but overall it's just for aesthetic thing. From my experience at least, it's not a huge difference. Moving over to the back of the case though, pretty basic on the back here. You've got your standard, I/O section. You've got 120mm fan, 7 PCI Express slots. This is a full ATX case, so you do get the 7 PCI Express slots and your power supply mount. And this side, once again, cable management side, whole lot of nothing. You got the bulge here that's actually for, again, the sound dampening foam, which is on that side too. That's nice. And you got another vent down there. So, overall, pretty, symmetrical case, pretty basic, kind of what you would expect in a more budget-oriented case. But let's go ahead and move on to the inside. All right, so moving on to the inside here, you can actually see that sound dampening foam right there. So it does actually go into the bulge, and it's about as thick as that bulging outside panel area. So again, you're not using up any of your space for that sound dampening foam, which is really nice. Doesn't really matter too much on this side, but especially on the cable management side, that is a big deal, because I've run into some cases before that have the sound dampening foam on them, and it reduces your cable management room. So anyway, yeah, it seems like a lot of manufacturers don't calculate for that sort of thing. You end up, you got a 1/2 inch of, say, cable management space, and it gets, reduced to like 0.3 inches, and that really sucks when you have less room. So I do appreciate them doing that. Overall, solid side panel. I wouldn't expect much flex from a side panel this small anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's just a, pretty basic metal side panel there. Definitely interesting though. Like, even when you set it down, it's quieter because of the sound dampening foam in there. Now inside here, you got those two quick release 5 1/4 inch bays. Got your accessory box down here, which is actually in the quick release drive cages. As you can see, these ones here are the kind that you bend to get the drives installed in. It does have support for SSD mounting holes though. They are screw-in ones, so you don't get the hot swappable SSD mounts, but at least they're still there, right? Now we go to the accessory box down here. Really small accessory box. It actually does have holes in it to mount it to the drive cage, which is actually kind of cool, because that way it doesn't spill out. Sometimes I've seen manufacturers where they put the accessory box just like sitting in the drive cage, and when you get it, it's falling out, falling open, things are everywhere. So nice that they drilled some holes in there, or poked some holes in there, I should say. Small accessory box, relatively small accessory count. It's literally just your screws and a couple zip ties. The essentials. Again, it's more of a budget-oriented case, and I'll take something like this with sound dampening foam over the same case, for example, say with a nicer set of accessories without the sound dampening foam. Again, budget case. You do have, by the way, 4 3.5 inch drive slots or 4 2.5 inch drive slots. As far as I know, there are no dedicated SSD mounts. It's just going to be hard drive cages that can be mounted with either SSDs or hard drives. but 4 is a pretty decent amount, especially for a case that's pretty small when it comes to the ATX standard out there. You got your motherboard I/O cutouts right here, and those are actually rounded, which is good. Once in a while you'll get a company that really cheaply decides that it's a good idea to make those sharp, and you can end up in a situation where if you don't have sleeved cables, which judging by the budget case you're probably going with a budget power supply, so that is possible, you may end up cutting them. So nice that they're rounded, not super spectacular or anything, but still nice. And you do have an actual angled area here, no grommets, but an angled cutout there for some of your cables to run through. So that makes things a little bit cleaner in there, makes them look a little better to have it sticking out, and it's a good space there to run like your 24 pin and some of your bigger cables like that. You got a dust cover for the power supply on the bottom right here, so it's nice to have a dust filter there. That's about it though for the front here, other than you can obviously see the 220 millimeter fans in there. Those fans there are just intake, exhaust, balanced airflow. Nothing super special there, but it's a case that you'd see probably in like office settings and stuff like that, which is actually where this is going to be going. So it makes sense, for them to just have a little bit of airflow. If you're running a system that consumes a total of like 120 watts from the wall, you don't really need some serious cooling power or anything like that. All right, so now moving on to the cable management side here, which is for an enclosed build like this, not as important as it is for an open build where you really need to tidy up cables. You can kind of just shove cables wherever in the system. But back here, you've got actually very little space. You're probably looking at about 1/4 of an inch, maybe even a little bit less, between the wall here and the little gap on the back here. But that's okay because of the side panel bulging out. The foam isn't quite as thick as how much it bulges outwards. So it adds about another 1/4 inch, I'd say, ish, to that cable management space. So you should be able to get some cables through there. And again, you've got that kind of extruded area here that's angled for the larger cables. So that's kind of where you would want to run your really large cables. But it's not really meant for like a really super crazy setup. You're gonna run, your 24 pin. You're gonna run, some USBs and stuff like that. And that's pretty much gonna be it. But back here, you've got your drive cages that are actually, like I showed earlier, accessible from the front. You do not mount them on the back, but you can see them there. Other than that, though, there really isn't a whole lot to say on the back side, or for the entire case for that matter. It is a pretty simple case, so that kind of just gives you a general idea of what you'd be getting if you were purchasing something like this. I actually am pretty happy with the quality, though. It does feel good. Like I said, I'll do a whole review of it if I have a chance after building in it. But it's definitely great for a system that's going to be sitting in an office, office setting, something like that, doing, spreadsheet work or whatever kind of work it may be. It's a very good case for that sort of scenario where you want something silent, you want something that looks basic, that's not going to super stand out to anybody, and you want something that's a good price that isn't going to fall apart either. And this definitely satisfies all those marks from at least my initial impressions here. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you think of the content that we're doing. Let me know what you think of this case here. Sound dampening foam on a case of this price is pretty great and pretty unheard of, so cool to see that. Anyway, thank you for watching.